When it becomes hard, I have to remind myself this is an adventure I'm choosing. It's not a battle. It's not me against Danish.
So what tips would you give like newcomers, or maybe like someone who has never learned any language? Even if the sun doesn't come because it's Denmark, you have to keep doing it. Yeah.
That my biggest tip is just to be.
Hi everybody, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Kriti and I am super happy to kickstart the interview videos on my YouTube channel for 2024 with a new friend. Yes, in Denmark you can make new friends, and today I'm going to talk to my new friend about her passion for the Danish language. She has a fantastic Instagram page called Nearly Danish Dame, and I'm so excited to know why and how she's having so much fun learning the Danish language. So, if you're moving to Denmark, if you want to know a lot about how this journey can be made fun for you, please watch the video till the end. And let's get started with this week's video. So, Brooke, welcome to my YouTube channel. To begin with, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your amazing Instagram page.
Hi, Kriti. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I saw you at your comedy show, and that is how we got connected. And first of all, you were fantastic. And I love that it was almost Danes was the theme. And my Instagram handle is nearly Danish Dame. So we've talked a little bit about how we're trying to become Danish, but will we ever be totally Danish? But for me, language has so much to do with integration and how you feel part of a place. It's how you communicate with people. So, yeah, my Instagram page is all about learning Danish. It's my journey as a 42-year-old woman learning Danish in the middle of my life. I've never mastered any other language besides English. So, my name is Brooke. I come from the US, and I just randomly visited Copenhagen and decided one day I'm going to start learning Danish. And now I live here.
That's so amazing that I didn't know that maybe like learning the Danish language was the first language, like you are mastering it.
Yeah, I should
How?
have learned something else,
Yeah.
Kriti, right? Like something that millions of people
Yeah,
speak.
I want to know because from your Instagram, reels, when I see that you are having fun. And for me, like learning the language, I have passed the exam. I told few jokes about it and I'm done with learning the language. I have forgotten most of it. So I want to know what
Yeah.
like how are you having so much fun learning the language?
Yeah. Well, tillykke med PD3.
Tack.
But I think like so many people feel like that, right? That they've completed all of the steps in Denmark and now they're supposed to be fluent, but then what? I think for me that my biggest tip is just to be curious. I think that's how I have fun with it. Is just stay curious. Even in English, my native tongue, I'll never know all the words, right? And so I just feel like there's always something new to discover, and that keeps me excited. I feel like every day, it's so cheesy, when I wake up, I'm going to discover something new. I'm going to learn something new. And that's, I think, how I stay excited. And for me, also, language connects people. And I love connecting with people. I get so much joy out of new relationships. And so I think for me, language is just integral to becoming part of a place and to not being alone,
Yeah.
really. So
But
that's I
no,
think where my excitement and passion comes from. Yeah.
but like here in Denmark, because everybody speaks so well English, you feel less motivated to keep learning the language. So I want to know, like, what was your motivation? Was starting the Instagram page is also part of the motivation that you keep going, or you got inspired to also let other people keep
Hmm.
motivated?
I think it's sort of all of the above. Like I was maybe going through a rough time, like maybe mentally in life, and I thought this is something I want to do something that challenges me. And I love Danish, and maybe if I go really deep and focus on something, and at the time it felt like the page has evolved a lot and it's changed. When I
Yeah.
first started, you'll see it's mostly like phrases that I was learning. It was very related to the exam that I was going to be taking, and I sort of felt like if I can learn something enough to explain it to someone else, then that will help solidify it for me. But I also felt like I couldn't really make any mistakes, and that's not really a great feeling because you make a ton of mistakes when you're learning a language. And I maybe started feeling like boxed in and embarrassed if somebody like corrected me. And then it sort of has evolved now. There's a lot of Danes that follow me. And it's like now a dialogue. And I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like a sponge that I'm like asking people questions, and all these people are replying with how they know a word or a phrase or what this means. And I feel like I'm like learning so much. So it's been really fun to see how it's evolved and to be more comfortable, I guess, in my own skin publicly.
No, because I saw on your Instagram reels that like Danes have written down comments in Danish,
Yeah.
and then you are also replying in Danish. So I want to know, how does it feel to, like have those like comments from Danish people? Do you really like now feel like, yes, you are also connecting with them?
I do. Like it's hard to make Danish friends. So these are maybe not friends, but I think those casual connections you have with people are also really part of feeling like you're beginning to be part of a place, right? And so it is really nice to have Danes commenting and sharing things. It's very helpful. And I think even though Danes speak English so well, they do really, they're protective of their language and they're proud of their language. And so when people actually make an effort to learn Danish, I think it really does mean a lot to them. Even though they're like, yeah, we can speak English, we can switch. But I think like deep down, it means something that somebody's willing to try and like preserve a really small language.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because if they are all together and then you are the only one, they will be talking in Danish and then you will feel, left out. So in
Yeah.
order to like get into that, part of being like a true Dane in Denmark, you really need to learn the language. Brooke, you
Yeah.
share a lot of, good, like tips and tricks about
Mm.
learning a new language. So when it comes to learning a new language, could you share, uh, what are like maybe two or three important things to remember?
So for me, my journey learning Danish has been all about integrating it into daily life, like finding a lot of different ways to absorb the language because it gets boring if you just do one thing, if you're just taking class or you're just doing apps. But really, like language is all around. So I actually like made a list of all the ways I learned Danish. And if I get bored, I just go to that list and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that in a while. But it's everything from listening to music. I love listening to Danish music, especially like hip hop and rap, which I think maybe is surprising to people, but it's so good for practicing speaking quickly and like learning new slang. So I try to like memorize the song and then like rap along with it.
That is so fun,
um,
because like we have been taught like, okay, watch movies, but I've never like focused too much on even listening to like the Danish song.
Yeah, I'll pick a song and listen to it on repeat for like a week until it would probably drive someone else crazy. But then I've memorized it, I'm singing along, and sometimes I'll try to learn to play it on my ukulele. But I would say try to find TV, movie, film, YouTube videos, apps, music, a drop in class. There's a lot of free things online, Instagram accounts, meetups, in person or online. Find a friend who's also learning, and even though you'll make a ton of mistakes, it's fine. It's like a safe place and you can just practice together. So really just finding ways to make it an everyday habit. Yeah.
Okay, everyday habit, not to forget that, okay, you have to
Yeah.
keep learning the language.
Like you
Yeah.
got to show up every day, and some days are easy and some days are hard. And but for me, like when it becomes hard, I have to remind myself this is an adventure I'm choosing. It's not a battle. It's not me against Danish. It's me learning this. It's a new adventure and it's opening doors and it's making connections with people. So it's
Yeah.
reframing it sometimes in your own head.
Yeah, and then it, I think now, like just hearing you, it making me like, okay, I have to change my perspective about learning the language, and maybe go back, and have like take it as a good thing that, okay, you keep learning and you keep improving yourself with the
Yeah,
language.
like I feel pretty fluent. I can have conversations, but I still make a ton of mistakes. I often will tell people I'm learning, and I think people are then willing to help you.
Yeah.
So, like that's another tip when you're learning is when someone switches to English when you're learning Danish, and they will, don't give up. Just tell them, jeg lærer dansk.
Yeah.
Kan vi fortsætte på dansk? I'm learning. Can we keep trying? Can we continue in Danish? And I think generally people will help you out. And don't get frustrated. Mistakes are how you learn. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the hardest life lessons for me, not just about language, is like being open to making mistakes, because that's how you learn. I think there's
Yeah.
a urge to be perfect and to come off like you know what you're doing all the time. But the things I remember most are the mistakes that I make, and then I don't make them again.
If you want to be perfect when speaking, then you will not speak. Yeah.
Exactly. You just clam up. And even for me, like if I start to feel nervous speaking Danish, I can feel like words are slipping away, like things I know. It's like parts of your brain shut down. So finding ways to just take a breath,
Yeah.
be chill, try again. And I have a couple different jobs here, and I work at a bakery, I work at a brewery, and the brewery is fantastic for learning Danish. It's a chill environment. Everyone's just in a good mood when they're there, and I can always just practice my Danish. And there's regular customers, but at the bakery, I asked to start working up front in the cafe for an hour so that I could like put myself out there and learn Danish, because it's like a fast paced
Yeah.
atmosphere, and it's challenging. After an hour, my brain is like, whew, okay, now we need a break. But yeah, you just every opportunity is a new way to learn. So just
Yeah.
staying open to new opportunities.
Wow, that is so inspiring. Like because I go and buy like whenever I go to buy some bread at Lauke Husal, I'm like Danish, Kriti, Danish, Kriti. No, could you give me this bread? And that's it. So I think it's so inspiring. Brooke, like my viewers are a lot of newcomers who will be like coming to Denmark. So what tips would you give like newcomers, or maybe like someone who has never learned any language, in
Hmm.
their life and coming to Denmark? They're already handling the, difficulties of finding a new apartment, taxes, finding new friends, and then boom, learn
It
the
is a
language.
lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot to take on. I would say, if possible, start learning Danish before you move to Denmark. I know that's not always possible, but I think it helps so much with confidence if you come in just knowing a little bit. You have sort of a springboard. Um, if not, take every opportunity you can to show up, and try memorizing certain phrases and using them, and finding friends or colleagues who will maybe have lunch with you for an hour a week and only speak Danish, in a safe environment. And they'll correct you, but maybe not like every correction, because then it breaks up the conversation. But I have people who will, chat with me, and then every once in a while point out something that I can work on. And it's like so kind and helpful when it's done from a good heart. But the free Danish lessons in Denmark, take them. There's a lot of snackerklub, like meetup clubs at the libraries to practice all different language levels, volunteer in Danish.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to do it. But I think I guess, Kriti, my best advice is jump right in. Because if you wait, I think it's just harder. Don't
Yeah.
you? Then you get in your own head, oh, I've already been not speaking Danish for a month or a year or whatever. It's so much harder to then jump in. But if you get here, enroll in the classes, try speaking, don't get beat down when someone replies in English, just keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah, like start, because if you take too much of time, then you will not want, like you will not have maybe fun, or like it will be like you feel like too much time has passed, and then it becomes
Yeah.
more difficult, I think.
For me, it's like momentum. It's all about momentum. And if you are here then for maybe 6 months, and you're in a routine, you have your friends, maybe you speak English, you go to work, you do certain things, it's hard to be like, okay, now I'm going to start taking classes, or now
Yeah.
I'm going to switch to Danish. So my advice is just to try right off the bat, and don't get discouraged. Like, I don't want to say have thick skin, because I'm a sensitive person, but I think accept that mistakes are going to happen, and it's just part of the journey. It's going to be okay.
What do you do, Brooke, like when you feel like, okay, maybe not today, like I don't feel like maybe, learning the language, or like learning
Mm.
something new? So what do you do, or is there anything that you'd like to tell the newcomers learning the language that can, help them in the journey?
Mm. Like, I Kriti, I don't have many days where I don't want to learn. It's so silly. It's something that I get a lot of joy from, but I think finding maybe a passive way to learn, like watching TV with the Danish subtitles on while you're working out, having something, listening to a podcast, doing something, a little bit of something. Listen to a song, listen to a happy song, even if you don't know the words, but you're getting a little bit of Danish. It's all building, right?
Yeah.
And I am generally very positive, but I still get beat down sometimes. And like, I just took the module 6 exam, like in whatever, December. And I had a really hard time with the writing. And I didn't get as high a grade as I thought I was going to. And I thought I did really well. I worked hard. I walked out of there like, yes. And then I got it and I was like, pretty beat down. Like, you don't get any feedback, you just get a number. And I cried. Like, I think it's okay to just some days say, just have a good cry if you need to. Like, today is a hard day, but tomorrow the sun is going to rise. It's going to be a new day, and I'm going to start again.
Yeah, even if the sun doesn't come because it's Denmark, you have to keep doing it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's you really said it well. I think it can be a sentence that when you're learning the language, like especially Danish, you will cry, because I have done it myself. But I think keep the momentum. And I think one of the things that I have learned from you, like talking today with you, is like stay curious, and just find the fun to keep going, because it's gonna be like an up and down route to take when you're learning the language.
Yeah, and Danish has so many silly idioms and weird, oddly specific words, and literal Danish is like a whole thing, right? Like when you translate something directly to English, it's just a very literal word, and you're like, stinkdyr is like stink animal. That's like a skunk. Or Vaskebjorn is a washing bear, and that's a raccoon. There's just a lot of animals like this. So I think I also find a lot of joy in those like weird idiosyncrasies about the language, and that keeps me also coming back.
And Brooke, I want to end the video by asking, because you share a lot about the word of the day, or like there is a word in Danish for this and that. So what's your favorite word in the Danish language?
I knew you were going to ask me this, Kriti, and I cannot come up with one word, but I will say this will hopefully inspire your viewers. There's some words that are just fun to say, like kakerlak. Do you know this word? It means cockroach.
No,
which is not a fun word, but kakerlak. Like, I just love to say it. And decadec is also just like music that's like a bass, boom, 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 decadec music. So there's like those kind of funny words. Then there's words that just make sense, like kæreste, I think is the word for boyfriend and girlfriend, but you don't have to distinguish like who it is. It could be a boy, it could be a girl, who knows, like what. And I'm like, that just makes sense. And I feel like other languages should have this too. But yeah, on my page, I try to find really interesting words that are unique to Denmark, to the Danish language. Like the first one I shared, which I think a lot of Danes really liked, was tandsmør, and that's like tooth butter. And so that's when you put so much butter on bread that when you take a bite, it leaves your tooth print, your like tooth marks in the bread.
Yeah,
and a lot of people wrote,
that's the interesting thing about your channel, that I've never heard about Danish language has words for situations. Like this situation is called this. It's not like one word and this is what it is called in Danish.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating then to hear Danes commenting and saying, sometimes I've never heard that word before, and then other ones say, oh, we use that all the time growing up. And so it's interesting because, like I said, I will never know all the words in English. So it also means a lot when Danes are there kind of learning, and sometimes they say really sweet things. Like, it's really fun to see my language through your eyes. I'm seeing Danish in a different way, seeing someone learn it and being interested in these words, and maybe preserving some kind of old-fashioned words too. So that's really nice. That makes me feel good.
I think Danes, they're very like eager and very like welcoming when it comes to like like what other people like from outside Denmark are saying about their culture, the language. That's why I think sometimes when my comedy is working that well, because even Danes are very much interested in that.
I was going to tell you one thing, which is so funny. On my page last night, someone wrote, my husband and I had tried to play the Danish birthday song, and I recorded it and whatever. This was before I had very many followers, but someone wrote yesterday, the melody is a little wrong, smiley face. And I just thought, it was a Dane, and I thought, Danes are just so direct. Like, thank you for that feedback. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to change it, but thank you.
Yeah, they are like, direct, and they will tell you on the face. But that's, I think the best thing about Danes, that you will get to know what you are doing, like, and they will always
they will tell you how it is. So you always know where you stand. Yeah.
This was so much fun talking to you, and I know like my viewers now, they know what to do go and follow, on Instagram page. I'm going to put the link in the description as well. I'm so happy that I have met you in person. And as I
Likewise.
said in the beginning, you are my new friend. So let's meet for a coffee
I
and
would love that.
discuss
And we'll practice
more.
Danish.
Practice. Okay, then I will meet you in a month or something. I will first, go through my Danish. But thank you so much, Brooke. It was so nice to, have this conversation. And once again, thank you so much. And anything in the end, like, because my favorite word is tak. So tak.
It is
But
also for me too. Say it for everything. Sprinkle that around.
yeah,
Tak for a day.
and they
Tak
have
for
a
a
lot
day,
of version
Kriti.
of thank you. So tak
Yes.
ilimol. That's the only Danish.
Precis.
Thank you so much. And bye
Thank
bye,
you, Kriti.
everybody.